Thank you. All right. All right, you guys, welcome to Crypto Monday San Juan. I'm your host, Pedro Rivera. I've been gone for a mighty long time, but Lord knows it feels good to be home, baby. San Juan, Puerto Rico, baby, here we are. So, I've traveled the world far and wide, and I tell you, I've ran into very, very, very few people that are more knowledgeable, more experienced, more humble as well. Then my good friend, Mr. Michael Terpin. Give him a round of applause, please. The Godfather, Don Corleone. How you been, bro?
I've been good.
Tell them a little bit about where you get this Godfather moniker, because people think I gave it to you. I didn't give it to you. I just called you Don Corleone. The Godfather moniker, I did not give it to you. I'm not responsible.
No, that came from CNBC, Rand Nunaware. He called me the Godfather of the ICO a few years ago because I did work on the first handful of ICOs, including...
Handful?
Okay, maybe...
Humble.
Okay. Humble. Probably close to 200 now, but
200 ICOs.
But the earliest ones. The first one was Mastercoin, which was in August of 2013.
Shout out to Brock Pierce. You gotta talk to the microphone, sir.
Okay. I can't tell how well it's projecting.
That's
Can you hear me now?
great.
Okay. My wife says I talk too loudly, so I didn't want to blast out people here.
Shout out to Maxine. She can see us across the water. Everybody wave at Maxine. Penthouse is right over there.
Yeah.
That's that 2017 ICO money right over there.
We got it in 2016. Anyway.
Oh, excuse me.
I did things before crypto, you know.
Okay.
At any rate,
Cool.
So Rand called me the Godfather of the ICO between that and Ethereum and some of the other early 2013, 24 ones, and then he just sort of morphed into the Godfather of crypto, and it kind of stuck.
I mean, it fits, man. It does. I'll tell you what. Again, I'm not saying this just to be, polite, or respectful, or, like I'm stroking nobody's ego, but it's the truth, man. I know very few people that are actually more knowledgeable in the space than Mr. Michael Terpin, and more connected, more respected. He's worked on, just about all the major projects you guys have heard of. Ethereum, right? I read somewhere that you've accounted, or Transform Group is more accurately labeled, which is your marketing company, has been responsible for something like 60% of all the token valuation outside of Bitcoin on CoinMarketCap. So that's an amazing amount of crypto that you've obviously marketed and promoted. And that obviously leads to you having a plethora of knowledge, but also an extremely wide network throughout the world. And you're always up to date with in terms of like where we are in the market. This is why we have these. I've been grateful enough for us to develop a relationship over the years where you come on Crypto Mondays on a regular basis, and we talk about basically like a current state of the market. And the reason why is such is if you look down Michael's Facebook, and you can see so many times over the past 5 years that we've known each other, that Mike is very spot on in terms of accurately depicting where the market is and where we're going. So that's what we're here to do today. I mean, we're going to talk about the market itself, DeFi days, NFT craze, and so on and so forth. And we're just going to see are we at the end of the bull run, or are we at a major correction, or are we looking at the next bear market with crypto winners back? Talk to me, Mike. What's going on?
Well, first of all, about staying up to date. You have to stay up to date, otherwise you're out of date.
You get left behind real quick, baby, real fast.
And it's funny because I remember Ivan on Tech, who used to be more active on YouTube than he is now. He's kind of doing development stuff, but he was funny. About a year ago, he was just saying, God, I don't understand how anybody can say they're like a crypto expert and they're not on DeFi and they're not yield farming. It's like, what are they, like lost in 2017? And and that was something he said in 2020. But it's true.
Shout out to Mike Miglio. He just asked me a little while ago if I knew what DeFi was. We're gonna get Mike to talk about DeFi next week. Hopefully, he can help us out, teach us about that one of these coming weeks. Ultimately, you have to stay up to date in this space. It's very accurate. We're in a very, what's known as an immature market, especially when you compare this to other traditional financial services markets, right? Anything that you could have used for investment purposes, investment vehicles, they've been around a ton of time, right? They have an established record you can point at in terms of what the market generally does. Crypto's a little bit different. It moves very quickly. The technology is really mature, and it's developing every single day. There's people all the way around the world that are working on problems that exist within the space that create solutions that ultimately, if you take 6 months, a year off, or 2 years off, ultimately you will be left behind for sure. So let's talk about, again, I'm not gonna let you out of it. Are we in the crypto winter, Mike, or what's going on in this correction, man? Am I gonna be rich again? Am I back to being poor? What's going on?
You know, it's an interesting question because I think we're in a very deep correction.
Deep
Yeah.
is correct in my life.
And it's probably going to get deeper.
Deep.
It's probably going to get deeper.
Deep. Five-star hotels in Dubai dried up. No more supercars.
And you got to remember, though, even though we're in a deep correction from 64,000, we're still up 5x from a year ago.
We are at 5x. Shout out to everybody who had money from Bitcoin last year. You're doing good for yourself.
So, and I think
people like you have had Bitcoin since it was like, $30. You're doing real well for yourself. So.
Obviously, I've spent some of that along the way.
A little bit.
But at any rate, I think for the most part that the big question is whether we have what's known as a double bubble, because most of the predictions of have to do with the 4-year halvings, and I like to explain to people as the 4 seasons of Bitcoin. Okay.
Can we turn the speaker up? Can we turn this up?
I thought I was talking loud.
AV guy, we're gonna AV break. My AV team wears black, just like the professionals in Hollywood. Shout out to the AV team, they're always here on time. Give a round of applause.
Oh, whoa.
Not that loud,
Not that loud.
Not that loud.
Is this better?
That's great.
Okay, great. I was gonna say, I rarely am told that I need to speak more loudly, so.
Eso lo pan conmigo,
Okay.
whatever they order for me, make sure you bring me that bill, my AV team, thank you.
So, most of the predictions that have been correct so far have involved what happens between the 4-year cycles that Bitcoin was built on. And all of crypto is built on the cycles of Bitcoin, with the exception of stable coins and some other coins that are not built on sort of speculative nature. And so I've referred to it as the 4 seasons of Bitcoin to make it simple for folks. And everything does follow to this point. Bitcoin, perhaps if we have a flippening, meaning that Ethereum becomes bigger than Bitcoin. It almost happened 4 years ago or 3 years ago, and people are now saying it may happen next year or by the end of this cycle. But until Bitcoin is still the king, and that everything else is tracked to, there's a saying years ago that when the United States gets a cold, the rest of the world economy gets pneumonia. And that's kind of what happens with Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto markets. When Bitcoin gets sick, the rest of the world gets deathly ill.
Shout out to Elon Musk. You're not welcome in Puerto Rico. You're not welcome here at all. Elon Musk, a couple like last year, I can't remember what it was. I was constantly asking you to come on Crypto Mondays. I'm asking you to come back to Crypto Mondays, but I promise you, I'm not looking to do the same thing. You're not welcome in Puerto Rico, Elon. Don't come here.
And there were things other than Elon, basically. The Elon giveth and the Elon taketh away. I mean, maybe
Elon's coming back July, 24th. He's going to have a conversation with Jack Dorsey. Shout out to Jack Dorsey. We appreciate what you're doing for the culture.
It's over with Elon. I mean, he put Doge glasses on his profile instead of laser eyes, and Doge dumped. So I think basically people are like, you're just screwing with us.
Yeah, we had enough of Elon's shenanigans.
So at any rate, back to where we are.
Musk.
So. I think the simplest, well, first of all, I always encourage everybody to read the book, The Bitcoin Standard, as in the gold standard. It was written about 2 years ago by Dr. Safian Ammous. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Safian Ammous. And he's a very talented economist out of Lebanon. And, he basically wrote about, the first half of the book is about Bitcoin. It's about the history of money and why, fur pelts developed from seashells and why hard metals were better than things that could, all of a sudden, you found more fur pelts and it debased the currency. And, why gold is better than copper, because if the price of copper goes up, you can just dig into the earth and make more. At any rate, his supposition is that Bitcoin is sort of the best store of value in terms of a hard money that we found. And with the current...
How many people agree with that statement right there? Is Bitcoin the best store of value that we got today? How many people agree with that statement? If you don't agree with that statement, I don't know what you guys are doing here.
It's tepid. We're still in a bear correction, right?
Yeah. Six months ago, people would have been going crazy.
Yeah. To the moon.
Yeah, you put it right. Go Bitcoin, Doge.
When Lambo.
Dogecoin.
Yeah.
When Doge boom.
The fucking Uber driver was pestering me about Doge when I...
So I'll be quick on this. So basically, read the book, and also there's a few folks like Plan B who then took a lot of the elements from sort of what happens over the 4 years of Bitcoin cycles
which typically I refer to as the 4 seasons of Bitcoin. Bitcoin spring is when the seed of the halving gets planted. That's been, 2012, 2016, 2020, the next one will be 2024. And every time since, because you drop the amount of new Bitcoin in half, you have this shock for a while. And then 6 months later, all of a sudden it starts going up because there's less Bitcoin. As long as the overall adoption of Bitcoin keeps growing, even at a linear rate, you end up having a parabolic squeeze, usually about a year afterwards. Now the question is, was that parabolic squeeze that shot up in April, which is way earlier and way lower than it should have been, or is it still going to happen at the end of this year?
What do you think?
I think it's still going to happen at the end of this year for a number of reasons, but I'd say it's not 100% by any means. I'd say it's probably 2/3. 2/3 it's going to happen, 1/3, that's all it was, and we're going to have to wait another 4 years to get over 64,000.
Mike, that's some wishy-washy shit there, man. I don't know.
No,
if I can go on that.
I'm giving you what I feel is.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with my Doge, man. I don't know. I took all this.
None of
Doge
this
from-
none of this relates to Doge.
Oh.
I'm just saying Bitcoin, and then Ethereum fairly close follows Bitcoin. I mean, I think the way to sort of play it, it depends how aggressive you are. If you hodl it and you're 30 years old, I think you're going to be looking at high 6-figure, mid 6-figure Bitcoin in 30 years, or you're going to see zero, right?
That's even more wishy-washy shit. So if I'm like 25, right, and I'm like, just trying to make it, and I just got like a, a regular, job, and I'm just trying to, maybe save a couple dollars, and I hear somebody like, yeah, if you put your money on this, man, maybe in like 30 years you'll be rich as fuck, and maybe you'll just be giving your money to the internet for nothing. One or the other, so like it's a good chance that you're gonna make it. It's better than lotto. It's like a 50-50 chance at least, right?
I'd say more than that over that time frame.
Right. No, I mean,
Now, between now and the end of the year, if you're asking shorter term, I just told you I thought it was 2-to-1, so 66-33, that it's going to be higher than 65,000 by the end of the year, and it's only 30,000 today. So you'd more than double your money if I'm right on the 2-to-1.
So I keep my Doge.
Not talking about Doge. I for one am hot.
By the way, I don't own any Doge, man. I just love.
He likes to say it.
I love the whole Doge story, right? I love everything about Doge because Doge has proven that really all you need to be successful in this industry is a strong community. Bottom line, if you got a bunch of people supporting your project, doesn't matter if your project means shit or not. This is irrelevant. If the community thinks it does, it does. Bottom line.
Did you buy any Bone coin?
No, I didn't. I missed on Bone. I didn't get any Bone, unfortunately.
Bone became $1 billion market cap in one day.
I didn't catch Bone. I didn't save Moon. I don't do shit coins, bro. Bottom line.
Yeah, and they're
I get offered
they're mean
a lot of money
shitcoins.
for shitcoin projects all the time.
And oftentimes the mooning of shitcoins happens at the very end of a cycle.
I mean, I'm not the best advice on this because honestly, like I look back at the offers that I had some of the companies that we projects advisors in the past year or so, and honestly, there were a lot of them that went real far. They were just shitcoins, and then they dumped. But I don't like to be responsible for stuff like that. But ultimately, okay,
Look,
so
if I walk away from the charts, and then we can maybe move on to something else, but if I walk away from the charts and just talk about fundamentals, a lot of it's going to happen in terms of what happens with human freedom and governments, right? So in other words, will governments just crush everybody globally, and the G7 is going to say, we only have stable coins issued by the government, and everything else is going to be illegal. That's the one sort of dramatic alternative. Or is everybody going to be free and have their own separation of state and money, and 1 billion or more people will have their own crypto wallets?
okay, so we can actually talk about that too, and what the United States was talking about, the CBDC coin, and ultimately, governments producing their own digital currencies, and whether or not those are going to squeeze or boom Bitcoin. And my thoughts on that are very simple. You have governments that, like the United States, that will probably issue, they're well on their way to issuing their own state digital currency, right? And then you'll have other places that are just like, yeah, no, we'd rather go with the route that we're, that's out there right now, and giving people an opportunity to transfer their funds and their wealth from there to our country, come live here, do business here, and you can do what you want with your decentralized coins, we don't care. And I can see a variety of different countries taking advantage of that and basically pulling a lot of different entrepreneurs. I mean, it's happening now. Like, How many people in this room are, investors in this space? Probably 80%, right? And this is something that I realized while I've been in Dubai. I've been in Dubai, like, I spent 4.5 months in Dubai this year. And in Dubai, you have 80% of the people in there are actively working on projects as well as investing in projects. Here in the US, we don't really have that because of the SEC and because of the way the laws are written. There's not too many projects that are domiciled in the US. On the other side of the globe, they're launching a coin every single day. You mean? And you see it happening like right before your eyes, right? And that's because the United States laws are so, they're tough. And obviously Puerto Rico gives us no taxes, but at the same time we're still stricken by the SEC, the CFTC, and all these other alphabet boys organizations that don't know shit about crypto. All they know is that they just want to keep the US dollar prevalent and not give you an opportunity to make no money.
Well, there are, last I checked, we're not a monarchy. So they elected narrowly Biden president, not king.
If you would have said we weren't a monarchy last year, I might have questioned that because it looked like it under Trump for a little while.
Well, if he was a monarchy, then he would have basically just slain everyone and announced that he was president for life. I mean, some people think he tried, but it didn't work.
There are people that say he's coming back to save us.
So we'll stay away from that for the moment. But the point is that if you look at, I'm fascinated by what's happening right now with the SEC court case against Ripple, because Ripple is fighting back, and they have a lot of money to fight back.
They got a shit ton.
And they've been winning some of their little motions that I think may add up to them winning. One of them was they basically said, oh, so you say under Hinman that Ethereum is not a security, although it may have been at one point, but we're not going to really say, but now it's officially decentralized. You're very vague on it. You're telling us, go and judge against oranges from the 1940s. And so how can you go and hold us to a standard that you haven't identified? We need to go and subpoena Hinman to find out what he was thinking. And they're like, oh, no. He's a government official. You can't subpoena him, because if you subpoenaed him, then nobody would ever run for government office again, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? They subpoenaed him, and the court said he must be deposed. That was on Thursday.
Excellent.
So that means now all of a sudden I think it's a very...
Sean King and I discussed this, right? And Sean King, I don't know if you see his penthouse from here or not. I don't know if he's home or not. But Sean King, he's very active.
He's at his little island home in Calabria.
Yeah. He's doing all right for himself too. Shout out to the King family residence over there. But ultimately, Sean and I discussed this, and what we both believe is that the United States will ultimately succumb to the game theory. Once other nations begin siphoning all the talent from the entrepreneurs and the investment dollars and start creating value and start shooting ahead of us and a lot of different of these DeFi platforms. Shout out to every time I say DeFi tonight, I'm gonna give Mike Mingo a shout out. So ultimately, all these decentralized financial tools that are being created within our industry, when the United States government sees that, they'll ultimately succumb to that. The question is, will it be too late by then? And will we be too far?
Well, that's why I think Puerto Rico, to sort of shift topics, has an incredible opportunity to be a leader in this area and not a follower. If we just simply cut and pasted what Wyoming has done, and it's been really good for Wyoming, we would have people streaming down here, and instead we're like in this defensive thing saying, oh, sorry, we're bringing jobs and money to the island, and some people now can't afford houses that they might not be able to afford anyway. It's just like New York City, you can't go and say, I want to live on Fifth Avenue, and I can't live on Fifth Avenue, so you better shoot all the rich people. I mean, I know it's not that simple, but the point is that I think we have the opportunity here to really look, when I first spoke at Crypto Mondays, there was maybe 5 people, and now there's look at it. And so there's a real...
You mean we had Crypto Mondays with 5 people, Mike? No, tell me more.
That's about what there was when I first went at the Red Monkey.
I was telling somebody here a little while ago, man, when we started the community, we had 4 people. We literally had 4 people. There were times where we didn't even have a camera. We would just sit at the table and just chat, honestly. Yep. But anyway, go ahead.
So, again, I think that, that's why just Keiko couldn't be here tonight because she's not feeling that well, but hopefully she'll be recovered by tomorrow. That's why I, given money to both my company and personally to the Puerto Rican Blockchain Trade Association, which is really looking to educate the Senate about what we're doing to help the island, instead of just sitting back and saying, no, don't shoot at us, we'll hide over there. I mean, I love her description about why we need to have a voice. She's like, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're the meal.
No, I agree. Ultimately, you know, we're gonna do some things with the Puerto Rican Blockchain Association. First thing we're gonna do is add some Puerto Ricans, right? And then ultimately, you know, we can show the kind of work that
Well,
we've
I was
done.
gonna say, I made a point of, first of all, there is a Puerto Rican on the management there, but I made
Tell him I
a,
said hi.
but I
Dile cómo estamos.
I made a point of buying a ticket for Michelangelo for tomorrow night's fundraiser.
Well, this guy?
Because I wanted to make sure that
Shout out to Michelangelo, the Puerto
there
Rican
was a
CEO.
Puerto Rican
Super round of applause.
entrepreneur. I wanted to make sure there was a Puerto Rican blockchain entrepreneur because we had lunch the other day and he's like, I want to support this. I'm not going to pay $1,000 a ticket right now. I'm still starting out as an entrepreneur. And so I was like, I'll pay it.
Yeah, I get it. No, I like it. I like the angle that she's taking. Keiko's got a lot of fight in her. You know, ultimately, like I said, we just want to make sure we have more Puerto Ricans involved so we can talk about how we're doing this.
And she will. This first event was a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no group. But she will be doing things. There'll be community outreach and all this.
Yeah, we're gonna get together and build on
Again,
that.
it's not my group. I'm just supporting them.
Everyone here, Puerto Rican Blockchain Association. There's a fundraising dinner. It's been sold out, but at the same time, if you want to choose to support the Puerto Rican Blockchain Association, get with Keiko or Michael Terpin or myself, and we'll point you in the right direction. Ultimately, what we're trying to do with that group is essentially just basically highlight all the works and the efforts that our community is doing and is doing, has done, and will do in the future to benefit Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans with our community and make sure Act 60 stays around. I'm not sure if you guys realize Act 60 has come under fire from a lot of the local Puerto Ricans. I also spoke with Alberto Bacco recently. Alberto Bacco's on vacation. Alberto Bacco, for those of you who don't know, he actually wrote Act 22, which became Act 60. He's a local Puerto Rican attorney / politician / businessman and investor. Shout out to Andy Mustafa here from Chamber of Commerce. We love all Puerto Rican people. But ultimately, we're gonna have Alberto Bacco basically discuss exactly the intentions for Act 22, what was the purpose behind it. And we're gonna have that, I think, about 3-4 weeks. He's actually traveling for the month of July. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about DeFi. Mike Miglio, we're talking about DeFi. This is your stuff. Let's go. DeFi. What's going on in the DeFi world? Is DeFi real? What's going on in the rug pull? Did you get rug pulled?
I haven't been rug pulled, no. No, but I think, shout out to Mike Miglio. I'm an investor and advisor to Bridge Mutual, which gives you insurance against being rug pulled.
And on what, DeFi platforms?
That's correct.
I'll tell you what, this guy Mike might know something about DeFi. Go see Mike if you have DeFi questions.
And so,
Mike, you lucky I don't have your phone number memorized. It'd be on the internet right now. Go ahead.
no, I mean, look, DeFi was $0 2 years ago.
Zero.
And it really spun off of CeFi. And, I helped, one of those 200 ICOs or whatever that I helped launch was Salt.
Salt.
And that was the original Salt Lending, was the original CeFi platform before Celsius, which launched at my Coin Agenda conference in Barcelona. In
Shout out to Alex
2012.
Mashinsky, doing big things.
Yeah, and so, I think CeFi platforms still have a lot of money under them.
Shout out to Nexo.
Next is another one. I mean, there's. I like Salt. I mean, obviously I worked with them from the very beginning, but when I did an independent evaluation, when Bitcoin was like 55,000, and I wasn't quite sure. Okay, do I sell some now? Is it going to go higher? Yes. Should I sell some? Yes. And so, my wife and I bought a condo in Miami.
I haven't been there yet. I've been a little busy in Miami. I haven't made it. Last time I was in Miami, I didn't see any of you guys. I was traveling in a yacht in a mansion somewhere.
You got invited during Bitcoin.
I did get invited. I just didn't make it. I did get invited. I appreciate the invite.
So
I'll make it next
anyway,
time.
but I mean, we ended up. I mean, she's the real estate pro, and I had her look at the way that they were structuring loans, and she's like, "Yeah, this is legit. Third party custody and this and that." And I was able to get, it was a $2 million property, and so I sold Bitcoin at 55,000 for $1 million, and I borrowed Bitcoin, $1 million in Bitcoin, and put up $3 million in collateral in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And basically, as long as the price of Bitcoin doesn't go down below, I think it's like 16,000. I don't have to put up extra collateral, and I'm paying interest only 2.5%. So basically, I'm paying $2,500 a month to.
So did you guys catch that? Did everybody catch that? All right, so watch
That's the
this.
salt.
Hold on. We'll get him to repeat that. I want you to repeat that process one more time for me, sir. You bought a $2 million property, yes?
Correct.
Okay. How did you do that again, sir?
Sold it. So half of it sold Bitcoin at 55,000. So that was a million.
Irrelevant the price. You sold Bitcoin for $1 million, got
Right.
$1 million worth of Bitcoin.
And then I took a loan out for $1 million by putting up $3 million of collateral, because that got me the lowest rate of 2.5%.
So now you keep your crypto. You got what? I imagine USDT out.
No, this is Bitcoin that's sitting there.
You got Bitcoin out, and then you cashed out the Bitcoin to pay.
No, they're just holding the Bitcoin, and I have to put up extra Bitcoin if the price goes below a certain point. But that was the whole point. I didn't have to sell the Bitcoin.
What did they give you the loan in, though? What currency did they give you the loan in?
U.S. dollars, baby.
Excellent.
Not stable coins. They wired $1 million to my bank account.
Excellent.
And their model is basically they can't lose because, if it goes below a 10% cushion, I got to put more money in.
Excellent. What platform do you use?
Salt lending.
Salt Lending. Shout out to Salt Lending. Salt Lending's coming to Puerto Rico, aren't they? December Blockchain Week.
They are, and they already have Puerto Rico as one of the jurisdictions that you can take a loan in.
Excellent. So you guys who are unaware, Puerto Rico Blockchain Week is going to be December 7th through the 13th. It's right on the heels of
No, it's the 5th through. It starts on a Sunday and mine is Monday through Wednesday.
Well,
so.
it's definitely Monday. Or Crypto
Yeah.
Monday is hello. But at the same time, though, Mike's better at his dates than I. I smoke a lot of weed. Mike doesn't. So Mike's got better dates than I do. So whatever date he's saying,
I think it's the 5th to the 10th.
Whatever date.
Is Brian Bergery here tonight?
Brian's around here somewhere, I'm sure.
Okay.
I think I've seen him. But anyway, yeah. I'll put it in the chats of all the chats of what Puerto Rico Blockchain Week is going to be. It's going to be the 5th or the 7th, whatever week it is. Whenever Art Basel ends, Puerto Rico Blockchain Week is the next day for the following week.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested in adding to that, I'm actually going to throw up a website, PR Blockchain Week. Which one you own? I own the other one. You own Blockchain Week PR?
I own PR Blockchain Week.
And I own blockchainweekpr.com.
Okay.
Either way, we're gonna put it on both of them. We're gonna put it on both of them. We're gonna make a splash page with all the events that we already have that we're doing that week. There's going to be a Limitless conference like I did in Dubai. Everybody, shout out to y'all if y'all made it to Limitless in Dubai. It was a fucking movie. Limitless Puerto Rico is gonna be even a better movie.
The last time that a whole bunch of people got together to hold multiple events in Puerto Rico, we sold every hotel room on the island. That was
We had 10,000 people here. Everybody remember Blockchain Week PR in March 2018? We round of applause if you remember Blockchain Week PR. That's even better. That means that 90% of you guys weren't here for that. And I'm telling you, there was every bit of 10, 11,000 people here. It was madhouse. It was fucking nuts. We're gonna double that this year, I promise you. We're gonna double that number this year, and we're gonna do a lot. Not only that, but we're attracting Act 22, which is now Act 60, prior to this year had about 4,300 granted applications since 2012. This year, we're set to double that number. You just told me recently, right? It's 300 to 400 people being approved every month at the pace that we're at this year. 300 to 400 people being approved for Act 60 this year. At that pace, we will double the amount of Act 22 recipients in this year alone than we've done in the previous 9 years. What that means is ultimately we'll have a melting pot of nothing but talented, successful people who are actually here, right? Obviously because they want to get a better tax rate on the money they've made, but also look around. Everyone's between 30 to 50 years old for the most part. Entrepreneurs looking to build. So we have a beautiful situation, right time, right place, in a gorgeous environment, and we have a tremendous amount of opportunities. Also, shout out to Geotax. I don't know if Gio's in the house tonight. Gio Mendez, I didn't see him. But Gio's got a bunch of things going on in the real estate ball game. If you guys are interested in doing some investing in real estate, get with Gio. They got a ton of projects going on around the island right now. I got a bunch of people coming from Dubai doing a bigger projects. If you guys are interested in more commercial sized real estate projects, let me know. Now, NFTs.
So,
Shout out to Fit and Licious. Gretchen. If you guys want to get in shape, you're an executive, you got an executive looking body, which is not a good thing. You got an executive looking body, get with Gretchen. Gretchen's gonna have you chasing around the beach. You know, you guys wanna work out, you know what I mean? Chase her around the beach, I guarantee you she's gonna kill you. But go ahead.
I work out with Gretchen, so.
How'd you feel afterwards?
No, she's great. She's great. She kicks my ass. Especially when I came back from France, and I was in pretty good shape before I left for France, and then all of a sudden I'm just eating and drinking foie gras and like red wine every day, and it's just like she's like, it's okay, we'll get you back.
We'll get it back. Okay, so NFTs. Talk to me about it. What the hell is an NFT? Most people still don't know.
It's a non-fungible token.
Come on, bro. Give me something other than the obvious.
What
is an NFT?
I was gonna say, so an NFT, its strength is that you're able to go and create something that, Bitcoin, one Bitcoin is like another Bitcoin, and so there's strengths for that. If you're trying to have it be acting like a commodity, a currency, etc., you want to have things that are fungible. That's the strength of money. That's the strength of a commodity. But a collectible, you want to have a unique asset. And so the first NFT was something called colored coins, where you took Bitcoin and you wrote something in the memo field, and that made it non-fungible, although it was interesting because it was non-fungible and fungible at the same time. You can still go and take a Satoshi and say it's worth one Satoshi, but you can say it also is worth whatever that colored coin is because you colored it by putting a memo tag in there. That was a little awkward though.
Does anybody know what an NFT is now that they got Michael's definition?
Let me, I'm not finished.
Oh, okay.
I'm not finished. So the next level up was when Counterparty, which was a very early platform built on top of Bitcoin, actually took tokens and they made tokens that would be non-fungible, where one of the earlier ones was called Rare Peppy playing cards, and you'd issue these tokens similar to ERC-20. This is before ERC-20 existed. That you would then say, okay, these counterparty assets that are built on top of Counterparty, which is built on top of Bitcoin, would then be non-fungible. So this one is, this playing card, this one's that playing card. And it really wasn't until the ERC 721 that there was an entire protocol, instead of just coloring something that was also fungible, that literally made it a non-fungible only token. And so that's...
What about a non-forkable token?
Not related to a non-fungible.
Go ahead. Non-fungible tokens.
Although I guess an NFT is also non-forkable.
Yeah. I mean, listen. The easiest, simplest definition I've got for NFT thus far is basically owning a piece of the internet.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. It's a digital collectible. Is in most cases that's what it is. Now there are other use cases. For example, one company that I'm an investor and an advisor to is called IceCap. And so with them, it's not just a picture of a diamond, it's the actual diamond. And your ownership in the diamond, this is a company that is now headquartered in Dubai. I got them to go to Dubai, and now they're incorporated there.
What are you doing in Dubai, sir?
I sent them there because,
Did you go to Limitless?
I was at Limitless. I sent them there before Limitless. This is before you even went out to Dubai.
Oh, man.
But at any rate, Dubai is great. Dubai is an example of what you can do when you sort of have the government try to open up things rather than close them down for you. Let's go back to NFTs. So, NFTs, I'd say right now are growing like wildfire, but they're growing in kind of almost a winner-take-most market. So you'll have these things that just explode and become a couple $100 million in sales, and yet most of them aren't selling at all, right? Because you end up having an exponential increase in supply and a linear increase in demand, right? So every artist who's heard about an NFT is like, oh, I want to make an NFT. I'm an artist. I'm going to go and I never sold anything for more than $100 in my life, but I want $100,000 for my NFT, right? And so that's just not. Right. Hey, it worked for Beeple. I mean,
People hit it out of the park.
Right, and he really.
Shout out to Brittany Kaiser. Brittany Kaiser helped on that. Shout out to Brittany. Congratulations on your baby. We appreciate you and Matt McKibben. We'll see you guys in PR soon.
So, but it's not like it died after Beeple. I mean, you look at something like Axie Infinity. This is a game that then you can go and earn NFTs, sort of along the lines, back in the olden days of gaming when Brock Pierce was 19 years old and was.
Brock, I might have heard of that guy once or twice.
Well, I was gonna say, way before he was in crypto, he started this thing called IGE, which is basically a marketplace
for gaming rewards because somebody tried to do that in the U.S. Again, regulation, and somebody was trying to sell lives for EverQuest on eBay, and eBay said, no, you're violating the rights of Sony, and you can't do that. And Brock was just like, well, great, I'll go outside of the U.S. And so he started a company in China and Korea, and basically just had a global marketplace for buying and selling these swords. And, it got up to $200 million valuation. And I think it got sold, and then he bought back parts of it again, but he did really well on it. He had Steve Bannon running it.
I might have heard of that guy once or twice too. Okay, so let's see, we got DeFi.
But I was going to say Axie is where I started. So Axie is sort of the NFT version of that. So you have people now making a living, just like you had people making a living 15, 20 years ago by playing video games in China, where you can live on $1 an hour and you'd rather play video games than drive a taxi or whatever else you're going to do for $1 an hour in China during that period. And you could go and make more than that just by playing video games and selling the things on the platform. Well, right now, in the Philippines, there are people making $200-300 a month on Axie. And that's why it's gone from pennies up to, I think it's around $20 a token. It's exploded just because of gamers in the Philippines. And that was from one article in CoinDesk, written actually by a former client of mine, who basically said, hey, cool, people are in the Philippines playing video games and they're making money on it. And people read that, it got passed around, and like I said, that's now all of a sudden exploding to the point that Axie right now, how many NFTs do you think they're selling a week? Dollar value. It's a brand new platform. And they're just things that are created as part of the game.
Excellent. So,
that was a question. How much dollars per week is this game doing?
I mean, I'm guessing, but I'll guess, I don't know, 20 million?
$100 million.
I was close.
A week.
Yes.
100 million a week. Up from 0 6 months ago.
100 million a week, Axie's doing?
The NFTs that people are selling on the Axie platform. That's why it's been number one in the top 100 for a while with
And you're an investor in these guys too, huh?
No, I'm an investor actually in another platform that's doing similar things. He was actually here earlier this week, called NFT Studios.
Excellent. Excellent. I like it. So let me get some questions for Mr. Michael Terpin. We got questions in the audience. Let's start right over here. We need you to come a little closer, brother. We need you to come a little closer. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, so you were talking about CBDCs. Is there a possibility? How do you think that's going to play out? Like, what platform do you think that? I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to happen, right? You all agree?
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that these will all be deployed on the same platform?
No way.
It's a great question, by the way. I like it.
They won't be on the same platform. I think most of them are going to be on
I'd like to ask Andrew Keys that question. I'll get Keys next time he's in Puerto Rico. We'll discuss that with him. But go ahead, Michael.
Look, I'm an investor and advisor in a platform that is approaching and talking to these countries, and they actually have a really good technological platform. It's called Temptum. But most of these countries, their first when they decide to do it, the first thing they do is they call Ernst & Young or PwC, and they say, what do we do? And then they call IBM, and then IBM comes in and says, we'll build you something for like $10 million as a test, and we're going to put it on Hyperledger. Yeah. So most of the countries are actually doing, kind of very low performance, high profit for, nobody got fired for hiring Ernst & Young or IBM, and so that's what's happening right now at most places. The smaller, nimbler countries are looking and saying, we want to go and do something on Stellar, on Temptum, on something that actually is low to no fees and can be actually used for the last mile. There's, BIT has been doing this for a while. This is Gabriel Abed, who, by the way, just became ambassador from Barbados to Dubai.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't know who the Puerto Rican ambassador is to Dubai, but me and him gotta have a conversation. It should be me for sure. That's for sure. Like I don't know. I didn't run into the guy the whole time I was over there. He kept saying the guy existed, but I couldn't find him.
There are no ambassadors from Puerto Rico.
That's the problem right there.
You can, however, be a consul general, an honorary one.
The Shaky Shakies love me though, man. You should see it, man. The Shaky Shakies is some cool people, man. Honestly,
So to answer the question of CBDCs, I think it'll be a variety of platforms, and it's going to depend on whether the country actually wants to help the people, or whether they want to just sort of continue to keep control and print money and just put a digital flavor on it.
Yeah, so I tend to agree with Mike with that. I would say that ultimately the bigger, more established, wealthier countries, right? Very similar to people, right? The people who are more established and wealthier, they look to be, they want less risk. They're not so much concerned with profitability. They want to know that they are not actually being exposed to dangers that exist, out there and unparalleled and unknown. So they're going to go with more established brands, like you mentioned. They're going to turn around and hire these, the big five major accounting firms. And those guys are going to turn around, point to IBM. IBM's going to turn around, put them on Hyperledger. They're going to have like a CFI/DeFi type system. It's going to have high fees, low performance, but a lot of security. Of course, the exception of it having some sort of central point of failure, right, for their data. But ultimately, they've got a central point of failure for their data now, so they're used to it. They're okay with that. I would imagine the smaller, like you said, more nimble countries, people that have the ability to take more risk because they're looking to gain more traction in the global markets, they will, take chances on other platforms and other smaller type of blockchains that are not related to, a global dominating company like IBM. Next question. Come on up. I don't know either one of you guys. Why don't you guys say hi, man? Why don't you tell the people who you are, by the way?
Sounds good. Thanks so much. Hey guys.
Speak into the microphone, brother.
Thanks so much. Hey guys, I'm Tony. I'm a, double entrepreneur and investor in crypto.
I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to be like you when I grow up.
Bro, I'm just trying to keep up with you. Michael, I wanted to ask you a question, and I think this is, you guys had mentioned the topic of, massive adoption of crypto, and especially the idea of, different countries coming up with their own coins versus, how we have it right now. So as business owners, is there anything we should be doing in addition to, getting involved with the groups that you guys are, leading in terms of helping, gain more adoption, and having, would it be Congress people we should be talking to help them understand, our perspective that we do want more of this type of stuff. We don't want as much, government-run, coins as an example. What would you tell somebody like me in that area?
Sure, good question.
Good
So I'd say it's two different things, right? So I'd say in just the general adoption by the people, for the people, demystify it for your friends, and demystify it for strangers. Every time I get in a cab or an Uber, I sort of, ask if they know what Bitcoin is. I mean, I hate to sound like I'm a Jehovah's Witness for Bitcoin, but, I'll just bring it up and they say, oh yeah, I got a wallet, or they'll say, I kind of heard of that. What? Tell me a little bit about it. I usually don't have it's a scam. I get less of that in Puerto Rico than I do in a lot of places. Oh my God, it's a scam. And if they say it, I'll be like, well, why do you think that?
Give some away. Easy math. I'm not playing. I'm not laughing. Give some away.
Hard to do while you're in a quick Uber ride, but yes.
Trust Wallet. Trust Wallet takes 10 minutes to set up, not even 2 minutes. Trust Wallet, you can set it up in 5 minutes. As long as they have a piece of paper, they can write down 10 seed recovery phases. It literally takes 3 minutes to set up. I've given a lot of people Bitcoin on Trust Wallet because it doesn't take a long time to set up. It's real easy, real quick. As soon as you give them a round number, give them $100 or something they can see goes up and down, right? And maybe right now as the market's low, when it starts running a little bit and you see that 100 go to 120, 150, or God forbid even $200, all of a sudden people get real excited about crypto real fast. So feel free to give away some Bitcoin. It's not
I'd say they'll pay more attention to it if you convince them to buy something with crypto, right? Because if you give it to them, they don't know. They're probably never going to check the wallet again. They're like, whatever. Whereas if you say, hey...
Why don't you give me some Bitcoin? Let's see how that works. let's do it.
So, no, but if you convince someone, to go and take crypto, and they'll be like, oh, okay, let me try this. Then all of a sudden, they actually pay attention to it.
Exactly. So I actually convinced the waiters to download Bitcoin wallets here at Fogo de Chao. The challenge is that they're not allowed to have their phones on them while they're doing their shifts. So next week, right, Bobby? Next week, you're gonna have a Bitcoin wallet? Next week, we're gonna have Bitcoin wallets for all the waiters. And you guys, we wanna encourage you guys to tip the waiters in Bitcoin and be generous.
So, I'll give an example. The wonderful trader at Fitalicious, Gretchen.
Shout out to Gretchen, you get a lot of shout outs up here, girl.
She takes crypto. I think
She does
James
take
Taft
crypto.
originally onboarded her. I now pay her in crypto, and so I mean, and she can tell her friends, you should take crypto, and it spreads that way, and that's the way that you get adoption. I mean, it's not like we're not making any progress. We have over 100 million wallets now. There's still nowhere near 7 billion that we need to be, but it's still
What is the tipping point?
I'd say the tipping point's a billion.
Billion?
A billion. But it can happen very fast.
I say 700K, 10%.
700 million, you mean?
700 million, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
700 million. 700, 800 million, somewhere in that range.
Well,
I think it's tipping point.
There's a great picture of New York City in the early part of the 20th century, and it's 10 years apart. I think
Shout out to everybody who left New York. We had enough of your shit. We're out of there.
But I forget the years now. I think it's like 1905 and 1915, whatever. It was the early part of the century. And it's Times Square exactly 10 years apart. The first one has one car and a whole bunch of horses, and the next one has all cars and no horses. And that was in 10 years. And so, I think it was Bill Gates who said, most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. And I think that's true of crypto. Look where we were 10 years ago in crypto. 2011. That's when Roger Ver, got on YouTube and said, "I'm willing to bet $1 million that Bitcoin is going to outperform the stock market, the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, gold and silver by 100x. I will bet you $1 million." And nobody took him up.
Shout out to Roger Bill, man.
And it did. It was
like-
$11 at that time.
He's done a lot for the space in terms of propagating the space. He really has. Think what you want about Bitcoin Cash, but Roger Boy was
And
Bitcoin.
he's a Caribbean.
Where is he?
He lives he's a citizen of St. Kitts, and he mainly lives in St. Bart's these days. He's got the money.
Yeah, exactly. So ultimately, Roger Ver actually, not too long ago, wanted to challenge me to a jiu-jitsu match. So we may actually do this on live TV.
He's a champion, jiu-jitsu.
And he's 170 pounds. I'm 230.
He's okay. I want to watch it. I'll pay for that one.
It's
He's gonna flip your ass.
It's coming soon. It's coming soon. Chris Hemsworth, I was in
He's
Dubai.
gonna flip you.
Chris Hemsworth, I was in Dubai. He was like, this is gonna happen soon. But anyway, I'm not worried about it, honestly. What else we got? We got this guy right here.
Hey, my name's Alex. Thank you so much for answering these questions for us. Really appreciate your time. I kind of wanted to pick your brain just a little bit more on the direction of NFTs here. I recently started paying a little bit more attention to virtual land, being packaged as NFTs, and having seen a few businesses.
I got a piece of the Brooklyn Bridge to sell you.
Oh yes, and you could also sell a piece of Brooklyn Bridge as an NFT. But I just think it's interesting the way these things are sort of becoming income-generating assets because people can, build stores on these virtual plots of land. I would just love to hear your thoughts on either, sandbox versus metaverse versus, just all these different virtual land products
Sure.
in general. Thank you.
Sure. So I go way back in the metaverse pre-crypto. I worked with the kind of competitor to Second Life. In fact, actually before that, there was even earlier ones, but out of Sweden, God, I'm forgetting the name right now.
We're getting old.
No. It was
I smoke weed. He gets old. We both get shit.
Never Die was their fearless leader, and he wore like green lime shirts and like crazy glasses, and so the early days of this was, you needed goggles, you needed glasses that just weren't ready for prime time. My first PR firm, we launched this company that had like a $2,000 helmet that was bigger than a football helmet, and it gave you headaches. So, I mean, obviously the GUIs increase as the GUIs increase, but it makes adoption easier. So there's two parts to your question. One is kind of like what's going on with kind of what's happening today, selling the Brooklyn Bridge, this and that. Most of that right now is gaming, right? Most of that now is gaming related. I'm an investor and advisor in something called Upland, and they've been killing it. And
How many companies are you an investor in right now?
30 or 40, I guess. I'm
These
talking
guys
equity.
been paying attention.
Yeah, I'm talking equity. I probably have more than that, and that I've.
Tokens, you got a couple tokens.
I got a couple tokens too.
Oh, we got to get around to the AT&T lawsuit too. Finish answering the question.
Oh man, I've talked about that enough. So I think where he's driving it in terms of actual real commerce, going through metaverse and crypto, I think that when you're able to get the GUI there, because everything's about the GUI, right? Because the internet in the early days, people were like saying, oh, the internet's a joke. My mom's never going to go on the internet because she doesn't want to buy a second phone line. She doesn't want to be woken up in the middle of the night with something going bing, 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 bing. It takes longer to download a file than it does to fax it.
What the hell was that noise we used to hear logging into the internet before?
Those were 800 baud or 300 baud modems. They don't happen anymore, because again, I remember a senior executive at NBC said, we will never be on the internet because my mom's not going to put up with it. It's like 20 years later, here mom, have an iPhone, watch Netflix. The bandwidth got better, the GUI got better. And so the same thing will happen with blockchain. The bandwidth gets better, not bandwidth, but the experience, gets better.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I'm a little bit, I'm not gonna call it ignorant. I happen to know a lot of people that are working on a lot of these virtual lands and virtual virtual property, right? A lot of things in the NFT space. I also own NFTclassifieds.com. We've been looking a lot into that actual field for that specific purpose. But it's real interesting, right? In terms of what people can do in terms of virtual land. The question that I have is how many guys are like you that are really interested in that space and what's going to be moving forward, and as the space grows and develops. But I think it's what Mike says, right? I think as the technology gets easier to use and it becomes more seamless with what we currently do, I think more people will use it. I think it will come to a place where you have people like, my stepdaughters who are really much into like Fortnite, right? And things like that, where they have this ability to create these online worlds and participate in these online games. I think that segment of the population is going to ultimately grow with virtual land and virtual digital asset ownership. I just don't know how far away we are with that. So, I don't know, I think ultimately, I think that a lot is determined with the hardware associated with it.
Look, we don't even have a Coinbase for NFTs. I mean, right now, to go and buy most NFTs, it's similar to the experience. When I first got into crypto in early 2013, it was really hard buying Bitcoin. You had one exchange in the world, Mt. Gox.
I had Charlie Trim talk about what it was like at his exchange.
Yeah.
And Sean King. That was interesting.
Right.
Talk about their experience. It was shady as hell. I would definitely not do it.
Well, but he was just a reseller for Mt. Gox at the end of the day. That was the only exchange in the world.
Yeah. And you just had to write an email and send your money, and 3 days later you get a response.
That's correct.
And ultimately, you sit and pray and your wallet pops up some Bitcoin.
Anytime someone complains about Kraken or Coinbase or Gemini, I'm like, man, at least it doesn't take days and you're having to rely on somebody who runs a tea house in Japan and doesn't really even pay attention to his exchange very much.
Right.
So my point is that NFTs are like that today. I mean, right now to get an NFT, you need a MetaMask, you need to go in, you have huge gas fees. I mean, there's no centralized exchange where you can just go and buy NFTs, in a centralized experience, or even in a DEX that makes it simple. And so the GUI has to get better for all this stuff.
No, I agree. All right, next question, last question from Mr. Michael Terpin, last question. Well, we got two questions in the front, and then we're gonna go back to network.
Hi, my name is Slater. It's nice to be here.
What's your name, sir?
Slater.
Slater. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, and this is one thing that I just keeps popping up in my world as I watch crypto. Casey just did a video on the nature of the crypto world and what are the possible dangers involved. And she came up that Tether is still a major danger in the whole structure of crypto. And I was wondering, are you worried about that? And the fact that there are 8 wallets in China that seem to have control of a major portion of Tether. I just want to get past the whole thing. I know I'm very positive about crypto, but this is just like something that keeps popping up in my world. Could you answer to that?
What was it? Tether? Tether gonna live or die?
Is Tether gonna live or die? Basically, bottom line. Shout out to Craig Sellers at Tether, one of the geniuses in this space. I don't care what nobody says. He's one of the brightest people I know alive.
Yeah,
I
so
speak to Craig
I
Sellers, I get 5 points on my IQ every time I hire.
I was gonna say, Tether is one of those tokens that I helped launch and transform. Originally it was a real coin, and then again as Tether. Tether. What people don't understand about Tether is that there's not going to be a run on the bank of Tether because nobody actually cashes it out. I mean, if people haven't withdrawn from Tether right now, when they admitted that it's only 2% backed in cash and the rest is corporate bonds and other things, I mean, what it's used for is quick trading between Bitcoin. Nobody really holds Tether for very long. If you're going to hold stablecoin for a longer period of time, you probably should do something like Paxos or USDC because that one is regulated and blah, blah, blah. So you have this sort of, and then there's algorithmic stablecoins. So, I mean, there's always a risk with a stablecoin. There's risk with crypto in general. But no, I'm not worried that there's going to be, I mean, they've already survived the onslaught of having seized bank accounts from the New York State Department. I mean, so, Tether is a very small part of the crypto world.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to say the market will ultimately mature past where Tether could be harmful or detrimental. Can it be harmful? Yeah, of course. Tether's big enough in volume, right? In the event, let's say God forbid Tether collapsed, right? I would imagine we'd have a major dip to follow that. But is it going to be detrimental to our industry? No. And as time progresses and as a lot of these other stable coins develop more traction, become more usable and become more active and have a lot more liquidity in the market, ultimately Tether will become less important.
Well, markets abhor a vacuum, so if Tether collapses, someone else who's got better, transparency will replace it.
Yeah.
In the short term, it would certainly be just USDC or Paxos, which some people don't like because it is regulated, because obviously Goldman Sachs can come in or circle and just freeze just kind of freeze the whole market if they wanted to, or just stop it. Yeah, they're not going to most likely, but they can't suck it out of your exchange, but they could make it worthless if they wanted to.
I lost all my crypto on a boat in accident in Dubai. I don't know what happened. All of it went overseas. I don't know what happened. You hear that? All of it gone. All right, so last question we got from Mr. Michael Terpin.
My name is Alex. I work at Venture Capital as a fund manager. My question is
What's the name of
about
it, sir?
the threat to Act 60.
What's the name of your fund?
The name of the fund? DataLink. We're with DataLink PR.
And it's in here in Puerto Rico?
It's here in Puerto Rico.
Shout out to you. We need to get together. Shoot me a message.
All right, we'll do it. So my question is the threat to Act 60 with the Independent Party. They've been, pushing to try to...
Did you get here late? Because we spent about maybe 25 minutes talking about that.
I heard. But what can we do, all of us, to be a part of trying to make it move forward? Because I know that you're doing some work behind the scenes, but what can all of us do to be able to be a part of that?
Well, look at the Puerto Rico Blockchain Trade Association. Kieko, like I said, Kieko, I was hoping she'd be here tonight, but I think it's prblockchain.org.
We'll get it. We'll put it in the comments of the chats.
Yeah. They want to hear from you. They want voices. They'd like to have, lobbyists. Kieko was a Washington lobbyist, and she's moved down here. They want to, congressmen, senators, territorial senators, they want to know, are you a voter, and how do you feel? And if they can get 100, they also like phone calls. They want to have phone calls come in. They always log the analog things. They don't log emails. They log phone calls and snail mail letters. So write a snail mail letter to your congressman, to your senator. There's, 28 Puerto Rican senators. We'll have that information up on the site. Again, Puerto Rico Blockchain Trade Association just started.
All right, so aside from the PR Blockchain Association, let me say, hey, you guys in the back. Hey, you guys in the back. If you're here for tax benefits, Act 22, Act 60, pay attention. I got a hell of an announcement for you. If you like these tax benefits, I am Puerto Rican. I've been here for 4 years dealing with our community. I hear all of you guys, and more importantly, I hear all of my people. I'm gonna tell you the biggest problem we have with Act 22 and Act 60, the biggest knock that we have against us. We don't produce enough high-paying jobs. We don't produce enough executive roles, and we're not making enough Puerto Rican founders. Bottom line. Bottom line. All that shit's cool, lobbying's cool. The end of the day is impact. We raise a shit ton of money for charity. I know because I'm the one that's running around collecting it, right? A lot of you guys give me your money to deal with a lot of these charities, a lot of these organizations. It's a beautiful thing. Puerto Ricans aren't looking for handouts. They need opportunities. Very simple. So you, my brother, you're a VC, hire some Puerto Ricans. Give them high-paying jobs. Not only that, but invest in Puerto Rican startups, right? Let's start talking about how we can build the Puerto Rican ecosystem here. We have a tremendous amount of capital here. We have a tremendous amount of experience and a tremendous amount of knowledge in a variety of industries. If we can use that and leverage that and start doing events, get with me if you want to do some events, attract some Puerto Rican talent to walk through the doors. This way we can promote some Puerto Rican companies and start producing some real winners out there. We start producing real winners, the people are going to speak for us. Very simple. Very simple.
So Pedro, I would agree, but I would say we as an industry have been here a lot shorter time than the hedge fund industry, than the oil trading
I agree,
industry.
he's right. But we're not them. And I don't have no connection
So
to them.
I'm just, please
No,
let me
I agree.
finish. I've invested in Puerto Rican companies, but the point is that this community is, this community, by and large, I'd say the average person here has been here under 1 year. So
Right now,
give us
yeah.
a little time,
now,
and
yeah.
if you kill it by the end of the year, you're not going to give us. I mean, you've seen what it's grown in the last 2 years.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, Michael. No, what Michael's saying is correct, but what I'm saying is also correct as well. We obviously have to lobby. We obviously going to need to do a lot of work with the community. So these people speak. You see any Mustafa? Any? Raise your hand. Raise your hand, beautiful. Thank you so much. Annie Mustafa is the president of the Act 22, Act 2260 Chambers of Commerce Society, and she deals specifically with the Chamber of Commerce. If you need anything related to Puerto Rican government, Puerto Rican permits, Puerto Rican licenses, see Annie. Annie knows which Puerto Rican you can talk to. But also on top of that, she also knows the type of organizations you can deal with to make the most impact here in Puerto Rico. And that's what it's all about. The Puerto Ricans themselves, they feel like we're coming here, and I'll jump back on our side, and I'll say we're coming here, and all we're doing is getting tax benefits and raising the rent prices and raising the property value, but we're not doing anything but giving out service-based jobs. So when you say, oh, well, I use my tax benefits and I eat at restaurants, or I hire a lot of maids, or I hire a lot of carpenters or maintenance men to come into my $1 million homes, and this is me giving back, bullshit. Puerto Ricans don't want to hear that. Puerto Ricans want to know, like, what are you doing specifically to give Puerto Ricans opportunities to be successful? And that's the biggest challenge that we have. And trust me, I know, because again, I get it on both sides. I get it from you guys and I get it from our people. And from our people's perspective, that's the #1 complaint that they have. That they have not seen the Puerto Ricans who have benefited from the majority of millionaires and billionaires that are in crypto that are here for tax benefits. Because most of my friends are millionaires and billionaires, him too. And all of us that would come here and save a shit ton of money in our taxes. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I will tell you, I love how active our community is. Whenever I go around.
By the way, Pedro, I'm gonna call you on one thing. I don't know of anybody who's moved down here who's renting from another Act 60 person. They're renting from Puerto Ricans.
No, I agree. No, I agree from that part as well. Obviously, there are some Puerto Ricans benefiting from us, the service providers. People are selling their homes to us. Landlords, but these landlords already had a couple dollars. Come here, love. These landlords already had a couple dollars, because I promise you, Michael's not moving to a shitty place. So if it's the place that Michael moved to, or I moved to, or the place was already all right, that means the landlord already had a couple dollars. What we're talking about is creating opportunities for different levels, different social class of people to go from where they are to where we are. And that's what I'm talking about. And creating a variety of different things to support the startup ecosystem. And that's what we need to focus on. Annie, come on up here and say some things to the people, please.
Thank you. It's great to be here. My name is Annie Mustafa, as my friend here said. We are looking for those stories that are impacting. So I would like you to have one of your stories. You have many stories here in Puerto Rico. So please, if you want to share your story, just send me an email, anymostconsultinggroup@gmail.com. We'll be more than glad to take those stories out there and let the people of Puerto Rico also see what you're doing here and your impact. So please share those stories with you. I would like to introduce Vilma Colon. She's a former president of the Puerto Rico Chamber of Commerce also. The first female president of the Puerto Rico Chamber of Commerce. So she's here, so we are supporting this group and many other groups of Act 20, 22, and 60. Thank you.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
Because I actually offered her a little while ago to bring me more Puerto Ricans, and she's like, what for? And I'm like, bring me more Puerto Rican women entrepreneurs. Bottom line, from now on, if you're Puerto Rican, you're a female, you come here, you eat and drink for free. Come see me. I'm going to find a rich gringo to pick up your sack. Don't worry. I promise I will. If I'll pick it up if I got to, don't worry about it. But yeah, so anybody else got any more questions for Mr. Michael Terpin? Can we get back to the networking phase? All right, you guys. That's what I got for you guys tonight. Let me get a round of applause for my man, Mr. Michael Terpin. Okay. Next week I got a special guest for you guys. How many of you guys know what a cypherpunk is? How many of you guys know what a cypherpunk is? If you don't know what a cypherpunk is, you are not in crypto. The cypherpunks were the people that helped Satoshi Nakamoto create Bitcoin. We got one of them we got actually more than one of them. We got one of them that's public about it. I'm not gonna put the other one out there. He doesn't want to be out there. But we got one of them in our community that's gonna be here. He's gonna be here next week. It's Mr. Ryan Lackey. So y'all come out now next week. We have Mr. Ryan Lackey talk to us. That's what we got for you guys. I want to appreciate you guys. I'm Pedro Rivera. Y'all reach out to me. I'm back home. Party at my place on Saturday. Y'all holler at me. Y'all want the address. We're gonna get around. Hang out on Saturday. We'll get with y'all next week. Y'all be good. Mr. Michael Terpin, I appreciate you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Still shots? You got still shots for us? Annie, come here. I want to take a picture with you. You want to back up? You want to take some still shots for us?
Hopefully I can still get some food.
Yeah, no, they're going to serve you. I'll make sure of it.
All right.
I want to get Annie in the pictures too.
Okay.
I appreciate you, Michael, as usual.
All right.
Thank you so much. By the way, I think we should do that with NFTs. I got to get with you by NFTclassifieds.com because I think what you said might be accurate about the Coinbase NFTs. I've been thinking about ways to differentiate myself from these platforms, and the auction marketplace is not going to work. But I think that will.
Yeah.
Along with the actual aggregation of data, like you talked about.
If you can have an easy way of people buying NFTs.
Look out, Michael.
Who are you shooting? You shooting shoes? You shooting the shoes? Oh. This is the difference between millionaire and billionaire shoes. We want to look rich. He said, fuck you, I am rich.
Get Andy in there.
Andy, come on in here, Andy. Make me look good.
These are $25 sandals.
I know it. That's what I'm saying.
But they're comfortable.
Thank you.
I saw you in Miami.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow, okay.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
About Puerto Rico, so it took me a while to get the right management.
Okay, perfect. So you guys shoot me a message. Tell me a little bit more about what you guys are doing.
Can I get a picture?
Have my number?
With you?
Sure.
You don't have my number? Only